let's talk to Stephen in South Carolina. Stephen, what's on your mind tonight?
Hi. Hope everyone's having a good evening. So simple question, I think. So my main question is, do you think that coming out should be a necessity? Meaning, is there any real benefit to it for the majority of the people? And this is what I mean. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Sure, no worries.
So it's sort of an open secret in my circle of friends that I'm bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I'm sexually attracted to men and women, but I'm hetero-romantic, or I don't know what the actual term is, meaning I've only had relationships with women. That's my preference. I can see myself hooking up with a man, but not being in a relationship with a man.
Sure.
Just the way I see it. Now, that being said, 10 years ago, I never thought that I would have, hooked up with a man. So 10 years from now, who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious if you were out in an out way, how that might possibly shift. But there are plenty of men who are hetero-flexible in their sexuality, but that are exclusively hetero-romantic, and that's totally valid. And I thrown around a lot of different terminology for such men because I largely consider myself, at least in a squishy way, among them. But that's totally valid and okay. I guess your question, if we boil it down a little bit, though, is it a requirement? Is it an obligation to come out in this way?
Sort of, yeah. So, like I said, it's sort of like an open secret. No, I don't really make too much of an effort to hide anything. Like at a wedding, for example, all my friends were at. I hooked up with, someone at the wedding, and I don't really feel the need to hide anything, and people just know about it. I just don't feel the need to talk about it, But I remember the thing that sort of got me thinking about this was, I'm sorry, excuse me?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was listening raptly. Keep going.
The thing that sort of made me rethink my position on this was one of my best friends came out to me. And I just remember thinking back to the experience. It was such a big thing for him. Mm. And I can tell that he put a lot of effort into it. And I could tell it was cathartic for him. It was good for him. And I was thinking, would that be the same for me? And I kept on thinking, well, I don't think so. People know about it. I just never felt the need. And whenever people talk about our sexualities, I feel better saying that I'm straight, just for the simple fact that it causes confusion and questioning, because people ask, would I ever be with a guy because I'm hetero-romantic, or I think that's the phrase. So I would only really be in relationships with women, and I don't really feel the need to get into the intricacies of my sex life.
Sure.
But also, with that being said, it's bisexuality being a spectrum, I don't really feel the need to seek out men either way. Most of my sex life lies within women. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation where I don't really feel the need to say anything because it's my orientation, it's my sex life, and pragmatic
100%.
For everyone who knows me.
Yeah, and that's the important part. This is your sexuality. This is your sex life. You are under no obligation. I'm definitely don't want to make this sound like a hardline stance against National Coming Out Day, because I don't have that. If people feel that that's an opportunity to come out, and if that feels empowering for them, absolutely go for it. But there's a reason why we haven't marked it on this show each year, and that's just because of my feelings of absolute frustration that we live in a world where only queer folks are expected and obligated to come out. That is not anything. I mean, to me, that buys into some type of gay panic type of language, and it feels very patriarchal. So you are under no obligations to come out to anyone ever. That being said, would it make your life happier and healthier and more satisfying? Possibly, very, very likely even. You don't necessarily, though, need to go and sit down and have a deep conversation with every one of your friends where you look them deeply in the eye and you say, I'm so sorry for not being more transparent. You don't have to do any of that shit. You are more than welcome to just post a bisexual flag on your Facebook page and leave it at that. Or if you prefer, you don't have to say anything to anybody other than the dudes you're fucking.
Yeah. Or past experience, people I try to initiate threesomes with like a partner. So, but yeah, that's normally how it came about. The recent past, anyway. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I was gonna say, Christy, that's my stance on it too. I was hella confused when I started dating my wife. My wife is trans, and when I met her, she didn't know she was trans yet. Well, I mean, she didn't have the words. She actually didn't know what trans was. She had the feelings, didn't have the education to know what it was that she. I hope I'm not being offensive, but she didn't have the words. She didn't know what trans was. When she did, she was like, "Wait, this must be me." I was really confused. I was like, "I don't understand. I don't like dudes. I'm lesbian." But like all through high school, I never told people I was lesbian. I just didn't date guys. I dated girls, and the people that I had, that I was with throughout like college and stuff, I didn't. But I never had the conversation with my friends because I never felt like I needed to. I've had the conversation with the people I feel like I've needed to, and I've never felt like I needed to go up to someone I have no intention of fucking and being like, "Hi, I like vagina." I mean, but I also recognize that there are some people that feel like they need to do that. And I'm not trying to shame you if you want to do that. I've just personally never felt like I've needed to explain my sexual orientation to anyone that unless I wanted to fuck them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've shared this story on so many ACA shows recently that I want to keep it super brief, but I'll say that I ended up coming out as an atheist by just posting a video on Facebook, not expecting anybody to watch it. But I'm so glad that I did because it cut out so many of those conversations. It just simplified everything. And that may be an option here, but it's certainly not an obligation.
Yeah, and that's all really good points. The thing that I keep wrestling back and forth in my mind is, what benefit, if any, does coming out provide? And the thing is I know a lot of people who grew up in like oppressive religious households and who had to deal with that. Thankfully, I didn't. I was very fortunate in my religious upbringing before I came out of religion. So, like, I grew up in a pretty progressive household regardless, so I was very lucky in that regard. So I don't feel the need to hide my sexuality because of being shamed or anything like that. Thankfully, I don't have any of those feelings. I feel the freedom right now. If I wanted to try to pursue something with a man right now, I feel no obligation to try to hide that. I would just do it. And I don't think that would change, or I would feel more inclined to do so if I were to come out. Nothing would pragmatically change. Like, I don't feel the need to hide any part of myself other than I just don't want to say anything. Because I never, even before these feelings came about, like, I never felt the need to say anything about my sex life with my girlfriends in college, for example.
Yeah, well, not to belabor the point, but I do think there could be some potential value, for the world at large. You are perhaps increasing by visibility. You are pointing out to people who know you and like you as a straight person that you're not actually straight. And maybe that changes some of their thoughts about bisexuality or about homosexuality or queer issues in general. And there may be some use in using your voice, your platform to contribute to, I guess, the net good in the world in that sense. But that's not your obligation. That doesn't need to be your job. I think we all need to be responsible to one another and help support and protect one another. But you don't have to be the tip of the spear in that way. At the same time, there might be some unforeseen benefits to you. You know, I do wonder if you were already out as bisexual and there was 0% of you that was thinking, well, if I do this, then people are going to know, how that might possibly change your sexual expression or your willingness to go for it, so to speak. But that may not be you, and that may not be important, and the cost benefit analysis may not work out. So this is entirely up to you, and you are well within your rights however you want to slice it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's something I've been trying to visualize is, you know, what would it look like if I were to come out? Like, what would change about my romantic life, my sex life? You know, I'm on the dating field again. Like, would I want to even pursue a date with a guy just to see what it's like? You know, and I don't really feel the need for that right now, but I do wonder sometimes. A lot recently, would coming out change any of my perspectives on that? So I'll keep thinking on that.
Well, good on you. And, you know, we've certainly discussed it here as well as a number of other times on this show, how to go about it and perhaps what to expect. There are great resources, both in our, you know, the Secular Sexuality back catalog, as well as just on the internet writ large. Be supported. You know, if you do decide to make a change here, I hope that you do so with good people around you. It sounds like you feel pretty comfortable and confident taking this step if it is something that you choose to do. But as you get a little bit closer to the edge, it might feel a little bit scarier. And that might be interesting too. You know, it's such a trite thing to say, but it's a truism of therapy that resistance is where the work is. If it starts to feel uncomfortable, if it starts to feel scary, there's probably some very interesting reasons as to why, and that might be something worth getting some support on and exploring. But regardless of where you end up, we wish the best for you, and I hope that you'll drop us a line and let us know how it goes if you ever do decide to take that step.
All right, I really appreciate it. Thank you both so much.
Hey, thank you. You have a great night.
All right, you as well. Bye.